That's a foot.
I'm David Thompson. I'm here from New Jersey.
How long have you left the nails untreated?
Gee, way too long, and I'm paying for it.
So it sounds like we've got an issue here where the gentleman is not cutting his toenails. Now, fingernails grow an average of about 3.5 millimeters every month, and the pinky nail is the one that actually grows the slowest. The toenails grow at about half of that speed, about 2 millimeters or so a month, and the fastest growing of the toenails is the great toe.
Well, I just hope you didn't have a big breakfast today. Man, you're in for a shocker.
It takes a lot.
Okay, I'm a physician. I've been doing this for, gosh, over 20 some years. And the two things that I really have a hard time with are bad smells and feet. And I think we're gonna get a combination of both here. That's a foot. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that I have a hard time with feet. Wow, you can see all of that just dead skin just coming off on the sock. The first thing I think about with these situations is how does somebody let it get to this point? Now, sometimes people are in situations where they cannot treat their feet. There are people who have health conditions that don't allow them to reach down there and actually treat their feet. I don't know if that's the case with this gentleman. I hope so because, wow.
Okay. I mean, I've seen bad cases.
Oh my gosh, why am I reacting to this? You guys made me do this. You liked that first one, and now I'm watching this one. Oh, this is my nightmare. I have a ton of respect for podiatrists and foot and ankle surgeons because this is the one field of medicine that I just cannot do. Now you can see that his nails have grown so long that they're now curving like the shape of like a mountain goat's horn. And I mentioned earlier that toenails grow at about 1.5 to 2 millimeters a month. So when you look at the length of these toenails, knowing that, and I can do a little bit of simple math in my head, he hasn't cut his toenails for 68 years.
David's nails were so long that they were curling on top of each other and almost bridging together. His skin was flaking off. You could literally take little pieces of it off. It looked like a croissant.
Why? Why do you have to compare this to food? This doctor always does that. It does not look like a croissant. And God forbid, I hope it doesn't taste like one either. This poor gentleman dealing with this with his feet. I know I'm making light of it just because of my own issues with feet, but this is a real issue that he has. It's got to be painful to walk on these feet, and so I hope that he can get some good treatment and get walking comfortably again.
When somebody neglects their feet like this, it can harbor infection. This can be a really serious matter. You have corns that are diving into the skin.
Oh, I know. It feels like walking on landmines.
A corn is similar to a callus, but it's typically smaller and much thicker. And the way that we describe it, it's almost like deep pebbles that are growing into the skin. Now, corns typically develop in areas of repeated friction or repeated pressure. And so it could be like the tops of the toes. As you can see for him here, it's on his soles and possibly his heels. The treatment for corns is to basically remove them and to hopefully prevent that friction or that pressure on that area of the foot to continue on. Did you know that you can look upwards of 5 years younger and just...
That right there just came off your big toe. I can't even imagine walking around with that.
I've learned to adapt and adjust.
A lot of people wonder, why is it that he did not get this treated beforehand? And this is not that uncommon, having worked in hospitals throughout my career, to see patients who You wonder, like, why didn't you get this treated? And unfortunately, not everybody has access to medical care like some of us do. It's possible he didn't have any health insurance to pay to take care of his feet. And then for some patients, there is a fear of getting treated. There's a fear of seeing doctors, that maybe that doctor is going to recommend something that is painful, that could be surgical, that they just don't want to have done. All of that aside, I'm really glad that he has finally gotten his feet taken care of, and it looks like he is in the absolute right hands.
The foot also has a callus going into the skin, which was causing corns. In David's case, his corns needed to be removed with my scalpel.
Calluses can sometimes be shaved down, but corns are usually so thick that to cut them out, like using a scalpel blade, is necessary. Now you can see here that the doctor is doing this treatment in his office, which makes it very convenient, although you wonder whether putting the patient under an anesthetic may be in his better interests overall. Do you see that? What's the most painful thing to step on? We all know it's a Lego. And you can see that corn is bigger than a piece of Lego. So can you imagine every day having that on the bottom of your foot and walking on it? I mean, how utterly painful. This is going to feel so good for this poor guy to get rid of this massive corn. In podiatry, they call it a Dremel. In plastic surgery, we call it a dermabrader. And I'm sure that in orthopedics, they have their own name for it. I don't know, a burr probably. Now in plastic surgery, I use a very similar device. It looks basically exactly the same, where I can actually burr down or dermabrate down the skin of the upper and the lower lip to reduce wrinkles. Some people will actually dermabrate the whole face to the point where it's actively bleeding, like the whole face is a crimson mask of blood.
Still bleeding. My face is still bleeding.
As a way to reduce scarring, let's say, from old acne. But here it looks like in podiatry, you call it a Dremel. He is really doing a good job in staying still and letting him do this treatment. He's shaving off all of this foot stuff just all over his floor. I feel so bad for the person who has to clean this up.
Oh no, miss.
Number one, it's probably everywhere. You know, when we do these treatments, skin is just flying everywhere. It's not just going straight down on the floor. And number two, that's gotta smell so bad on top of that. Why not just put something on the floor to help catch most of this instead of just letting it drop on the floor and letting your support staff clean that up?